The Russ Belville Show.
Welcome back, everybody. 15 after the hour. Time for us to go behind the headlines. And there's a story up on National Public Radio called Go East, Young Marijuana Dealer. And it just highlights the huge profits that can be made between the more liberal West Coast with respect to marijuana laws and the much more conservative and draconian East Coast. And this starts out talking about a young marijuana dealer who goes by the pseudonym of Chuck. And it says Chuck used to sell marijuana in California, but the legalization of medical marijuana in the state meant he was suddenly competing against hundreds of medical marijuana dispensaries. So he moved to New York, where marijuana is still 100% illegal. Since making the move, he says he's quadrupled his income. And the story goes on to talk about loading 50 baggies of marijuana worth about $3,000 into his backpack and going about selling those bags. And this has led not only to the dealers wanting to move out east, but it's also had an impact on the growers on the West Coast who now face a production glut. There's, an overabundance of medical cannabis or just cannabis out here on the West Coast. And so therefore a lot of that weed makes its way east. They talked to a special agent, Roy Georgie, with the California Department of Justice. And part of his job is, of course, hiking around the mountains and pulling weeds. But another part is going to the FedExes and the UPS stores in Northern California's pot country to try to find out if people are mailing marijuana out from those parcel packages. He estimates, according to the NPR story, 1 in 15 packages he examines has marijuana in it. Quote, right now, Northern California bud, that trademark, that stamp, is really some of the best in the world, end quote. Now, of course, if Georgie is successful, all that does is mean less competition for Chuck, the dealer, and he can go ahead and charge higher prices. What kind of prices are we talking about? Well, the marijuana that can be bought easily in California for anywhere from $30 to $45 an eighth is selling for $60 an eighth in New York. And so he's very able to sell this. But one of the issues that makes it also possible for him to sell at such a high rate is something that's known as information asymmetry. And what this means is that in the illegal black market that's going on in New York right now, as Chuck likes to say, there is a lot of weed in New York. He says, quote, there's plenty of weed in New York. There's just an illusion of scarcity, which is part of what I'm capitalizing on. This is a black market business. There's insufficient information for customers, end quote. And that's exactly what this information asymmetry means, is that the producer, the seller here, Chuck, knows more about the market than his customers do. Because the market is completely illegal, customers can't shop around. They can't comparison shop. There's no real competition. And since it's hard to find your guy, once you do find a guy, you tend to stick with him. So it keeps Chuck rolling in money, $60 an eighth at a time. And what this shows is that despite any possible efforts that may be made by some of these politicians and states where they don't particularly like marijuana, it's going to be impossible to stop the tide of legalization just based on simple American capitalism. As marijuana becomes more and more legal here out west, it becomes cheaper and cheaper. They're talking about $185 an ounce in Colorado. So who is not going to take $185 an ounce in Colorado and take it to Chicago for $500 or New York for $600 or whatever the ounce prices go for out there? And the downside of this, of course, this is something our opponents will seize on to say, see, we should have kept it completely illegal. There's no way to control it. We can't keep it in one state's borders. And that's going to be used against us in the campaigns to legalize in the future. The point we have to make sure everyone understands is that marijuana can either be legal or not. But it can't be legal in some places and illegal in other places. If we're going to go this road of legalization, every state is going to have to take a look at this and mitigate what's going on with the marijuana market. Everything they do to try to make it tougher to get weed in their state just makes it more expensive in their state and provides more incentive for the entrepreneurs out west to make their way back east. You want to put them out of business? Legalize it and put it in stores.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, if they did that, maybe I could have this in stores. Anyway.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, some Irie Wednesday music with Brian the Red.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If